Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aligning with Success. I'm Mike DiMuccio, your host, Royal Diamond with Nikan for 29 and a half years. Wow, it's getting on. Today is July 19, so we are well into now the second half of the year 2021. I thought tonight, first of all, I want to thank Ben for covering me last week. I know it was on short notice and hope you guys don't mind. I took a bit of a vacation, and as you can see, I got a bit of sun, some good vitamin D. Joining us tonight is my daughter, Sophia. I asked her to maybe help us with some commentary, but I do want this call to be an open call for everyone to chime in on. Ben talked about goal setting goals, why there's challenges associated with that. Some of the challenges that we face with respect to either reaching our goals, not reaching our goals, fear to even set goals, which seems to be the most prominent reason why people don't even set goals. And I thought it would be appropriate for me to talk about what I've found over the years and what my mentor personally has helped teach me and others about this very, very issue, because it's central to what prevents anybody from achieving their desire. What stops somebody from doing what they know they should do, what they even want to do? What stops them or prevents them or causes any form of hesitation from them actually doing it? It's a fact of life. We experience it. And I don't know if you've experienced this recently for yourself personally, but maybe you're seeing it when you sponsor somebody new more prevalently. Often what happens is when somebody steps into the unknown by joining Nikan and declaring that they want to build a business with you, that's an area that they have no expertise in. That's an area that's well beyond their comfort zone and will most certainly force them into an area that's unknown to them if they hope to and expect to achieve results that go beyond where they're at. So let me rephrase. If we hope to, whether it's ourselves personally by setting a goal, or whether it's somebody that we've recently introduced to Nikan and they've just joined us, and there's a bit of hesitancy on their part, either to get started or to set a goal, what's happening? What's provoking that behavior when it seems counterintuitive? It seems contrary to what it is that they consciously want to do. We want to succeed. We want to achieve. We want to go beyond where we're at. But the second we make a declaration of any kind of that sort, we're stepping into the unknown. We're forcing ourselves into an area outside of our comfort zone, which creates a state of discomfort. And the mind and the body does not like this cognitive dissonance, this fear, this contrary feeling of being uncomfortable, and it wants to relieve that. So typically what happens is our mind goes to work at relieving the problem. And how does it relieve the problem? It finds excuses to avoid the problem 9 out of 10 times. So when you hear excuses from people that are contrary to what they say or they intend or demonstrate through their intention or through their words, and you see their actions aren't lined up, you got to ask yourself, okay, they're saying one thing and they're meaning another. Either they're stupid, which I don't think that's the case, or they're being overridden by the program that's operating within their subconscious mind. In other words, the subconscious is what's really controlling their actions. So I have a little PowerPoint, a little slide that I want to present, which you've seen before because it's right out of Bob Proctor's repertoire. But I thought it would be helpful to use this to really express the idea visually so we can get a better understanding of the concept visually. It's called the terror barrier. This is the thing that we most certainly will confront no matter who you are. And by the way, if you're not confronting the terror barrier, there is a problem. You have not set a goal high enough for yourself. In other words, your goal ought to be high enough that it both excites you and terrifies you. That's how you know you've got the right goal, because otherwise you're in your comfort zone and it's not much of a goal at all. It's not going to move you forward. It's just going to move you sideways. And so, yesterday's tomorrow and tomorrow's the next day. So what we're talking about is how to move people forward. So some of you remember this is called the stick person in the Bob Proctor language. And the top half of the circle, the big circle on top, that represents the conscious mind. This is where we do our thinking, where we think and our thoughts, and we're aware of the thoughts we're thinking. And then we have the subconscious mind. This is the part of us that really where all the emotions sit. And feelings are our awareness of those emotions. So when you're feeling something, when you say, oh, I feel X, then what you are is consciously aware of the state of vibration that your body is in. And that's what we call a feeling. It's the emotional state. And so that's the subconscious mind. That's the warehouse of all the feelings that we've had from all the things that we've experienced, both which are our own and from what we adopted as children when we were first being programmed by the Matrix. And I refer to the Matrix as our parents, as the institutions that we're a part of, and for instance, culture, language, religion, socioeconomic status, all of these things gave us our thoughts and our feelings about those things. And then the bottom part here represents the physical world that we manifest through our body in terms of actions that we take and the results that we produce. So now, there's this infinite power that informs the universe, this infinite power that informs every cell in our being, this infinite power through which we can imagine a possibility. And so this power flows to and through us in order to express. However, we are the filter through which it gets to express and manifest into form. So we have an imagined thought, for instance. Let's say that thought is a pretty cool thought, and we really feel the feeling of that thought. So we imagine, we imagine this not only in our mind, but we start to imagine the experience. So we start to get in touch with the feeling of that on a subconscious level, what it feels like. And then through our body, we begin to act in a certain manner, which produces results. This is the ideal, and this is exactly how it works, except the conscious and subconscious don't always think the same way. This is ideal, but that's not reality. Reality is we may have a goal, or we may set a goal for ourselves. Let's say it's a goal for this month. We're in July. We just started up, we're halfway through July. Let's say you set a goal the first part of July, and you're looking at your numbers right now. And you're thinking, geez, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I set quite a high goal. So where's the doubt coming from? It's a good goal and there's still half the month to go, but something's happening that's causing you to maybe question or doubt. Where's that coming from? What about if the idea was a really big idea, like Royal Diamond? That's a pretty good idea. And considering it's the infinite power of the universe that's trying to create and express itself through you, the same power that's, created suns and stars and galaxies and so forth, it's not that big a deal, Royal Diamond, to that power. Wouldn't you agree? So this power gives you the notion that you can create, let's say, Royal Diamond business. And you begin to imagine how wonderful life could be as a Royal Diamond. Well, no sooner than you begin to imagine this idea, what happens, this idea, well, we're going to call it why. Your image of yourself as a Royal Diamond, we're going to call that your why, your self-image as a Royal Diamond. But the second you imagine that possibility, or even make a step toward it, what happens is a whole series of things start to get conjured up from the past. You see, we were given the ability to sense our environment through our touch, taste, sound, sight. What's the other one? There's one more. Jump in if you remember what it is. Your five senses.
Hearing, Mike.
Hearing, thank you. So through our five senses, we are recording information all of our lives. And most of the information we've been recording about ourselves and the people around us is being recorded and memorized, stored in the subconscious mind. And if those ideas, the majority of those ideas are not positive, but negative ideas about who we are, you would say our self-image then is not a Y self-image, but in fact an X self-image. So you can see how we have a problem here. Our conscious mind is thinking about a possibility for ourselves, but our subconscious mind has a warehouse of information that tells us that possibility is ludicrous, that who we really are is X and not Y. And that's happening without us thinking about it. But how do you know you're actually thinking about it subconsciously? Well, what is it that we feel? When we look at our feelings, we feel this XY feeling, and the X is probably a lot stronger than the Y. That feeling of cognitive dissonance, that feeling of disharmony, that feeling is very difficult for people to deal with. And most people have not been taught to deal with that. What they're taught, what they go into is the fight or flight response. And the tendency is to fly away, to avoid the situation. So what do they do with the Y thought? They let it go. So that's how that represents itself in our life is you give up on your goal, you quit, or you don't even start at all. You just went as far as thinking about it, and this all happens, and then boom, you just put it to rest. And then of course, if you ask the people around you who are largely responsible for your self-image in the X category, and you say, well, what do you think I should do? Well, what do you think I should do?
Are you in the garage?
No, I'm online, Gary, but if you're in the garage, that's okay. I'm just going to mute you. So as I was saying, your X self-image, if that's been given to you by the people around you, and it's largely a representation of the people you surround yourself with, then their response to you is always going to be the same. They're going to support what they know and what you know, which is to stay in your comfort zone. And so the Y tends to fade away into the background, and we continue living our lives the way it was. Nothing changes. So what we want to talk about is how to overcome the inertia of this, because this is normal. This is not an exception to the rule. This is the rule. And this is affecting everybody. Everybody on this call right now is affected by this concept, because I know you have lofty aspirations within Niken, but you settle. Every month that goes by, you settle. And the reason you settle is because you're fighting this very normal thing, this thing that says you're only an X and not a Y. Y was a good idea. It was a good idea. It was good stuff. It was worth the attempt. But we are an X, and therefore we're happy and settled with being an X. And then you come on a call like this, or you get on a call with Ben or one of us on a private call, and we say, let's set some goals. Throw that Y out there again, and we go through the same exercise over and over again. So how do we overcome the inertia of this challenge, this big issue of cognitive dissonance, or the what Bob calls the double binding message, where we are in a constant state of XY? We're projecting into the universe this XY state of confusion, and there's no clear signal to the universe, and therefore the universe is going to respond. In fact, the second you turn and ask somebody what they think when you're in this XY scenario, what do you think they're going to feel? They're going to feel your confusion. They're going to feel your doubt. And if they're your friend or your family, they're looking out for you. So they don't want you to feel fear. They don't want you to feel doubt. So they're going to try and do what normal people would do. Get you out of that fear, get you out of that doubt, which is what? Support you in moving forward, or tell you to pull back, get back to normal. It's obvious, isn't it? What's going to happen here? So we need a way to bypass this process. We need a way to shunt this normal process, because there's only two ways that I've been taught that you can overcome the inertia of this. One is called space repetition, which means you continually host the Y idea and the Y feelings in spite of how uncomfortable it makes you feel, you get comfortable in the uncomfortable. That becomes your new norm. That would be the ideal thing, but that takes discipline and that takes time to develop. And when you're dealing with somebody brand new in the business, they may not even apply the time or the effort because they're in this cognitive dissonance and they just want to run for the hills. So how do we help people overcome this natural response? The other way, by the way, is shock. Now, shock is very effective and extremely quick. It works very, very efficiently in terms of shifting someone's paradigm, their self-image of X, very radically, very quickly. But this is not something we can control necessarily, and it's not something that we necessarily want to be involved in, shocking people, or including ourselves. So, and shock, by the way, is an example of shock would be, you know, something happens to a member of your family, something serious. A lot of people experiencing degrees of shock this year. And so that can shift the paradigm. That can cause people to change their perspective about things. And so, yeah, that happens. It happens a lot, but that's not a way to control behavior. That's not a way to grow a business with expectations. We don't control these shock factors. So how do we do this? I'm gonna stop the PowerPoint at this moment because I want to bring up the conversation. I want to hear from all of you what you've been up to in terms of this subject. And Sophia, I'm not sure if you're still on the line or where. Oh, there you are. Okay, feel free to jump in because I know you've had a lot of your presentations online about a lot of the material that you picked up when you were at the Paradigm Shifts seminar with Bob Proctor. I guess that was almost 3 years ago now. This was a very big part of paradigm shift because ultimately what we're dealing with, if we're changing anybody's life, is changing their paradigm. At the end of the day, nobody changes anything unless they change their paradigm. You might move from one job to the next, one husband or one wife to the next. Nothing is going to change unless you change your paradigm. So you're at fault for everything. And you're also responsible for everything. That's the good news. So the key then is to become responsible for changing your paradigm with some degree of consciousness. So I'm going to first of all ask Sophia to jump in here and maybe chime in on what I've talked about so far and your perspective on that.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I love that presentation that you just gave. The stick figure is one of my favorite diagrams that Bob shows because it shows really the breakdown of your own mind. And I think how sometimes we have to look at what is it, those things that we consciously want and we desire, and then take a look at what are the habits and the actions that we're actually taking in our everyday lives. And notice the disconnect between the two. Notice if you can imagine all the things that you want in your life, and then ask yourself, who is the person who has those things? What does that version of me look like? How do they wake up every morning? What's the first thing they do? What time do they get up? What habits do they have? What kind of people do they surround themselves with? How do they dress? You know, and really getting to the nitty gritty details of who that person is, how they act, how they respond to situations, and then see how there's a misalignment between that person and who you are right now. And that's fine. It's no judgment toward yourself. I think it's really important, first and foremost, that you become aware of that gap and you notice, okay, well, this is the me of the past. That's the me of the future. So how am I going to get there? It's going to take time. There's going to be a bridge to cross. And it's going to start, I think, by having a set of daily practices, because ultimately you have to use repetition to change the program. So having compassion for yourself is really important because you are literally rewiring your mind and your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, to become a different person. I think first and foremost, it starts with what you tell yourself every day. I think affirmations are one of the most important ways that you can start to shift the paradigm. I like to do affirmations in the shower because I shower every morning. So, and it's actually like speaking it out loud to yourself, speaking out loud to yourself in present tense, the person that you are becoming. Because even just doing that small action, I've noticed it gets you on that track of thinking as that person. You're constantly referencing what's happening in your daily life to that person. Even writing things down is really important. Writing down your affirmations, writing down your intentions or your goals as often as possible, having a gratitude list that you do every day. You're training your mind to think on a different frequency, and it's going to take time. It's going to take, I think, at least, they say it takes 3 weeks to make a habit. I think it's longer because you have to be consistent, and you're probably gonna fall in and out a little bit. And there's gonna be that time in between where it's like the elastic band is stretching, and it's wanting to, the paradigm is wanting to bring you back to where you are, right? So you might fall out of your habit and then go back into your habit, fall out of your habit, go back into your habit. But I found the most important thing is not to judge yourself and to have compassion for yourself and know that this is going to be a process. But if I stay committed to it, and every time I veer off, I come back, then eventually I'm going to get to where I'm going.
Okay, let me just recap, because this is all great stuff. So repetition is still going to be the key. And one of the things that you're talking about in terms of repetition is affirmations and gratitude lists. Those are really, really powerful. I'm going to be more specific about affirmations as well. Because you are rewiring your mind. You're literally reprogramming the subconscious, and you're doing it consciously, which is the proper use of your conscious mind and your willpower.
Yeah.
You also said, have compassion for yourself. Don't judge yourself. Again, if you understand that this is actually normal, that an airplane is off course more than it is on course, that your tendency is going to be off course, probably more than on course. If that's understood to be normal, then what's there to judge? It's acceptance that that's a norm, and you just keep course correcting, and that's your role and your responsibility is to keep doing that, and give yourself time, because this is going to be an effort, and so also be consistent with that. So that's going to have a compounding effect. So these are all really amazing tools. Because again, at the end of the day, if we're going to change any aspect of our life, we must change the paradigm, which is ultimately the image that we have of ourselves currently. And that image that we have of ourselves currently didn't happen overnight, unless it was shocked into happening. But typically it's something that happens with time. And how old are you now? How long have you been cultivating this paradigm, this image of yourself? So don't expect it to change overnight, but you can expect it to change, but it does take the effort. And fortunately, we have a business, and we have a team of people that will surround you and support the why vision, support the self-image that you dictate for yourself. You have that family, that team of people who will support that. The environment and the Nikan family and the Nikan wellness community is all about support and collaboration to help you realize your vision, your why potential. Madeline, you have your hand up.
Yes, it's a perfect lead into what I want to say, Mike. I'll read it. Mr. Masuda's vision is a Earl Nightingale quote, and Sophia was addressing it. Before you can achieve the kind of life you want, you must think, act, talk, and conduct yourself in all your affairs as would the person you wish to become. So I'll use Michael DiMuccio. His pictures, it's in a tuxedo. Michael presents himself in who he is, and that's what he's done from the get-go. I'm a co-host this coming weekend, and did a little pep talk on the Vance Rogers call on Saturday morning to encourage more attendance to come. And I have the pleasure of working with Sophia on another little project that we're working on together. And so all of the preparation for this and my anxiety has been increased. The green screen and the backdrop isn't working, and the technology and whatever. And so as I found myself slipping into one of those valleys, there are two people on here tonight and that you talked about, Mike, this community that we have, Dee Welsh and Barb Satterwhite. They're colleagues of mine, and I called to them for help. And both Dee did emotion code release last night. Barb is always sending me her morning meditations and her calm relationshiping self down. And so this is what we have. Somebody needs to mute. I don't know who it is, but there's an echo. Somebody new maybe that came on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, what is it? I went to the podiatrist this morning, and when I walked in with a skirt on while I'm going to a podiatrist, the text said, "Madeline, you always come in here dressed up. Nobody else ever comes in dressed up." And I've already talked to that podiatric practice, and I said, it's because I'm always representing myself in my unique and professional role, Heidi. And so we act like and continue conversations. And it was interesting. I had a whole different conversation with the physician on the way out. And so how long does it take, Sophia? The advantage that you have is that you were conceived in a wellness home and that you've had this training all your life. And you're starting out with an amazing mentor and an amazing team. However, it doesn't matter where we are. There is a place for each of us. And those of us that have been around 74 and more years, and there's a few of us on here tonight, we bring the wisdom and the experience and learning this stick figure and going back to it when we need to go back to it. So we each, every one of us, need to be bringing new people to align with success. Our new prospects, our new leaders. We need to be bringing them here. We need to be bringing them Saturday. The rhythm of the business that Michael has talked about forever is the call to action. So and I'll put my little infomercial in here. We're midpoint of year one. The theme this weekend for master class is freedom. And we're using freedom globally, 4th of July here, 1st of July there, China fireworks everywhere in the world, because there's been global wars forever and border wars. We have a unique, amazing opportunity with this device to become the seamless, borderless, non-discriminatory solution with a safe sanctuary of a wellness home and a business opportunity to address those components that the 2020 has changed the way products, services, business, family, graduations, weddings, funerals happen in lives. Everybody has been impacted globally, different than other world wars on the European front or in Asia or 9/11. It's global, and we have such a huge opportunity that this call tonight, Michael, couldn't be better positioned before masterclass this Saturday. And we should probably spend less time talking tonight and getting out and getting on, getting out, texting and getting people there. So I'll stop, but it's such a privilege to be here.
Thank you, Madeline. And it's always wonderful to hear from you. You have such jewels, and you know, you're an example of somebody who continually stretches the bar for yourself. And doing so, do it for us as well. I'm gonna move on to Paul. Gabby, you have your hand up. Paul?
Yes, it's great to change your paradigm internally, but I find the easiest way to do it is to imagine that you're in in water where there's some resistance. Maybe the current is even flowing against you, but the only way you're going to move forward is to make yourself take one step and then another and then another and then another, and the more steps you take. So if you feel in your mind that, my God, my feet aren't moving, I'm just stuck in quicksand. To get out of quicksand, you have to move in some way. And I just find that over the years, I just find that's the best way, is to just start behaving no matter how you feel, just behave.
Great point. Great point. We're going to get to that as well, underscore that point. In other words, take the action that you know is correct, regardless of how you feel. That's an excellent point.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in before we move on? Okay, I'm just gonna keep the floor open if you want to jump in. Let me just switch back then to where we were at, because all of these points are totally relevant. We want to be able to fast track the change. And the points that you've heard so far tell you that there's going to be a component of time. And it's always that way. You can't sow a seed and reap the harvest on the same day. It's just not conceivable. And so we sow the seeds and we reap the harvest. There's a period of time called the gestation period, or even with most things we know in our physical world, what those gestation periods are. For instance, the birth of a child or the harvesting of crops. These are things that we're familiar with. You sow seed, we know approximately when we can reap the harvest. But ideas are a little bit more abstract. We can't say for sure when we're going to reap the harvest, but we do know there's a time to sow and a time to reap. And it's that time in between that we must navigate. It's that time in between where we need to deal with the XY emotions. And so how to deal with the XY emotions? This is the key. This is the absolute key, because if you can feel comfortable where it's no longer feeling of cognitive dissonance, then what you are expressing to the world and to the universe and to the people you're talking with is something entirely different. It exudes a certain sense of confidence. And there's one thing that I know that can circumvent my subconscious mind, my internal wiring, because it's limited from the human perspective and from what I've culled through my lifetime, which is certainly not the experience of all people over all time. It's a limited point of view. In other words, my subconscious mind doesn't know the solution. It can't know the solution. If it knew the solution, it wouldn't be in cognitive dissonance. It would not be uncomfortable if it knew the solution. So if I can reason that there's no way that my subconscious mind can solve this problem, then I can just simply ignore my subconscious mind altogether. And by doing that, by shunting the subconscious, I replace the habit of relying on my subconscious or that internal feeling with a different one. The feeling of faith. How many of you know what faith feels like? Think about that for a second. Yeah. What does faith feel like? Faith is that feeling you have when you don't know how anything's going to work out exactly, but you know it's going to work out. Faith is that feeling where you don't need to understand the steps in between to know that there's steps in between and it'll sort itself out as we go. Faith is that feeling of knowing, of trusting that the solution is imminent, even though it's not apparent. That's the feeling of faith. And that completely wipes out any need to be right, any need to be justified. Now I don't have to justify to my friends why I'm doing what I'm doing. I just do it because it's my decision to do it. And regardless of how I feel or how they feel about it, I'm not relying on that because that's prejudiced by my paradigm, my X self-image. I'm trying to create a Y. I don't want to recreate an X. So I have to go where I've not gone before. I have to experience what I've not experienced before. I have to think thoughts that I've not thought before, feel feelings I have not felt before, say words and express myself in ways I've not expressed before. So I'm not going to be the same person coming out of the gate. Don't expect me to be. So maybe one of the things that we need to tell our people who are getting started is that you need to tell the people around you that you're moving into an area of unknown, and therefore, but of what's known is what you want to create. What's unknown is how you're going to create it. But that means you're going to be a person, another person. Start describing to them that person, how that person lives. In fact, as you find yourself describing that to others, you might start to believe it yourself. Now, notice you now have a YY self-image being broadcast, because that's all that's being broadcast. the X's being bypassed. And now the universe sees a very clear, resounding message. This is who I am. It's back to the statement that you made, Madeline, from Earl Nightingale, that was Mr. Masuda, our founder's written form, written on his card. He wrote it and kept it with him always to remind himself of this universal truth, that as he acts and thinks, feels, and behaves consistent with the person he imagines himself to be, the Y person, then it's the Y person he will experience himself as, and the results will align with that. This is the law of attraction. This is how it works. Nobody gets to another place by repeating the version of themselves. It's by becoming a new version of yourself, even if it's only imagined. And at first, it is only imagined. You have to first imagine it for yourself. And it's easier to do when you see others who have done it. So my advice to those of you who are new, or those of you who are not new, you need to spend more time with people whose self-image is rock solid in this area. People who are royal diamonds, people who are successful. The more time you spend with them, the more you start to hear the way they think, the way they speak, the more you will start to adopt those. One of the things I teach is, as you all know, Bob Proctor was a big influence in my life. And when I was going through a paradigm shift, now I got to tell you, when I met Bob, my income was pretty enormous. I mean, it was already huge compared to most people. I was making more a month than most people make, like better than half the population make in a year. But what Bob was teaching me was that there's still more there. I mean, that's a paradigm. I was already exceeding my self-image to a degree, but there's no limit to that. So he helped me go way beyond that by breaking new norms, seeing myself, imagining myself achieving new heights. And so this is something we need to do with purpose, conscientiously. One of the reasons we hold events like the one on Saturday coming up, the Master Day, is because we want to introduce and expose people to people who have succeeded at various degrees of success, so that they can see themselves as one of those people, because it starts with your ability to see yourself. So surround yourself with people who support a vision for your future that you want to create for yourself.
And Michael,
So-
if I can I interject something here?
Sure.
What I also see with 6 months, we're into the 7th month of transitioning from the old Power A that you and Ben and Gary were leading, and you were for the 5.5 years of launch partners, is part of Luis's strategy is also emerging leaders, to have that opportunity to be in the front of the room, because I don't have the Royal Diamondship yet. That's how I'm thinking and acting and whatever, like, but we have people that have skills that they're bringing, and that's how you get the experience with them at the front of the room, so that others that are watching also can see, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
And we will have a young entrepreneurs panel, and the name may change, rather than young entrepreneurs to emerging entrepreneurs, influencers. And one will be a 32-year-old. I think there's 2 32-year-olds and 1 42-year-old from Bogota, Colombia, and from Mexico City. On fire, absolutely on fire. I spent an extra hour with one of them yesterday. It's the energia that we all need. And so, I mean, they're like that. And so this is what you're going to get. It's not just those royal diamonds that did it when Michael did it, but it's the emerging leaders of 2020 and the past 5 years. And again, hats off to you, Mike, and this Align with Success and Launch Partners. This has been seed planning and re-nurturing some seeds that have been around, for plants that have been around for a while, and new ones. We need the new faces here, because it is the merging of the emerging leaders and the new to come in with those that are seasoned.
Awesome. Well, you get around those new success stories, and you start to feel the feelings that they're feeling and the thought, and you start to hear the thoughts that they're thinking, and it starts to make sense why they're taking the actions that they're taking, because you actually tend to move in a direction of your dominant thoughts and feelings. And if you're avoiding something, it's because your thoughts and feelings about that something are not right. And even if the actions call, especially when we're dealing with this XY scenario, if you're new, or you're setting a goal for yourself, and the first thing that happens, okay, it's Monday and this is what I'm doing starting Monday morning, and the first thing that happens is I'll get started once I blah blah blah. You just did it to yourself. You just threw the wrench into the equation because you're now trying to get out of it. So start to be aware of when your mind, your subconscious mind, when the monkey is busy trying to throw a wrench into your conscious creation. Be aware, pay attention, and reject it. That's the one thing you can do. You're conscientious. You're a conscious human being. You can reject an idea. You don't have to accept an idea. You can reject an idea if even it's your own idea.
Change this on the radio.
So when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are in alignment, you have the right attitude. And the right attitude is the attitude of gratitude. Sophia was talking about this. Rewiring your mind through affirmations, a gratitude list. Let me just tell you about this. I want to touch on this real quick with respect to affirmations. Affirmations are the things you tell yourself you are, if you were that person that you're trying to be. So a royal diamond, are they confident or aren't they confident? A royal diamond, do they speak with confidence? Do they enjoy speaking? Do they like having an opinion? Ask yourself questions like that, and then write it in the form of an affirmation, even if it's not you. Doesn't matter if it's not you. Remember, we're trying to rewire, we're trying to reprogram. So get into the space of what is it like to be that person? What do they think? What do they feel? How do they act, etc.? Write it in the form of an affirmation. I am this person. Write it out. I am confident. I speak with confidence. When I speak, people love to hear me. That's an affirmation. Now you might say your monkey might hear the second you say that word out loud. When I speak, people love to hear me. Your monkey might chime in right at that last second and say, yeah, sure, right. Well, that's the monkey. We know what the monkey sounds like. So just say, thanks, monkey. No, thanks. Stick to the affirmation, become aware. And the more you do that, the more you start to act like that person. What you're doing by doing this is you're sending a clear intention. Intention is the law of manifestation. Intention that is clear and focused is the power that wields the universal power into motive, into direction, into manifestation. It's clear intention. Intention is a powerful, powerful thing. There are people who can, with their mind, intend an outcome and experience an outcome in the physical. This has been demonstrated. It's scientifically been demonstrated. If you're not clear about that, pick up a book from Dr. Emoto. Just take a look at how intention can yet literally transfigure and transform water molecules. And we're 75% water. So intention is the most powerful form of energy, focused energy in the universe. It is responsible for the manifestation of all matter and all forms of matter. So thoughts, feelings, and actions, when they are aligned with an attitude of gratitude, is the most powerful intention possible. You couldn't be more productive. So if you spend some time, even if it's only a few minutes a day, repeating these thoughts, feelings, and actions in the form of affirmations with a gratitude list, spelling it out, saying it out loud, these clear intentions, then you will start to move in the direction of those intentions by default. And when the monkey jumps up, because it will, and it does, just remind yourself, it's the monkey, it's the old you that no longer exists. It only exists as a shadow image of the former you, echoing in the distance, and it will get quieter and quieter with time. That's the reality. Sophia, I'm going to end this call with you. Do you have a thought to add to what we've talked about? You're the up and coming generation. You're the reality that we are seeking in terms of the manifestation of the future Niken. You're the one, and people that you're giving birth to are literally transforming the world through your intentions. And Niken is a vehicle through which you're seeing that possibility emerge. So how does this play out for you?
I think something that I've learned through my own personal experiences over the last 3 years since going to the paradigm shift event is the difference between conscious manifestation and ego manifestation.
Let's hear about that.
And I think it's an important point. Ego manifestation is when you ask, how can I get what I want? Conscious manifestation is when you ask, what does the universe want from me? And from playing with these two forms of manifestation, because neither is good or bad, it's just a different way of doing things. The one that's more effortless and more fulfilling is the conscious manifestation, because it's really about being of service and knowing that when you are serving, when you are working for the boss, not working for yourself, and by the boss, I mean the universe, the source, whatever you want to call it, then you're always going to get more than you give. And you're always going to know that you aren't moving against the river bed. You're moving in the flow of it. And things come to you really effortlessly. And I just think, I think it's when we try to do what we want personally too much, when we try and like be so set on like this one vision and this one plan that we don't leave any other room for like miracles to happen. That's when we get stressed out and worried. But when we're constantly asking the question, literally every single day, just asking ourselves the question, how can I serve today? You're always going to be presented with opportunities to serve, and the universe will support you. Like I was in a meditation, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and kind of asking my guides about money and about how I'm going to like make the money that I want to do what I have to do. And when I am able to like tap into that higher mind, I get very clear answers. And this is the thing about intuition. You know, it's your intuition when it doesn't explain itself. It's just a direct answer. And if you try to question it, you won't get anywhere. It's just going to keep telling you that one answer. And you may not know why. It may not make logical sense, but that's how the intuition speaks. The ego, on the other hand, will always argue with itself. There will always be conflict. You'll always be able to talk yourself into it or out of it. So I was asking about, what would you have me do? What would you have me do for money? Is this the right thing for money? And the answer that I got was, continue to serve and we will support you. Continue to serve and we will support you.
I want to add to that love, and the first diamond training that Luis led in Toronto was, we were introduced to Ikigai and our purpose and love and serve. And we had to listen to 4 hours of Wayne Dyer. And one of the concepts in Wayne Dyer was ego. And ego, the EGO, stood for edging God out. So that ties into the source, God, the universe, however and faith, the little arrow of faith. So without the service, without the everything you just said, and so edging God out or edging the universe out, but I thought that was absolutely beautiful. So this is a beautiful tie into that, a beautiful ending to a very significant call. And thank you for the intergenerational DiMuccio legacy. And we all have that opportunity. We all have that. Go back to that lion in the mirror. That was a good one. There we go.
Who are you
Also,
being?
for those that have been to Humans Being More before, pull out your old life cycle charts. I pulled out found the themes through there, the stuff that's stuck in the subconscious that we may not remember. For those of us that have done 20 of these, you pull out one or two that you've done, and you're going to be surprised the words and the pictures that you have in there. And one of the exercises in the 2-day was the content that you just did tonight, Mike, was the I over M equals R. The intent over mechanism equals the results. So that was kind of the summation of that one exercise there as well. So all the inter-rater reliability of who are you being and becoming, the humans being and becoming the best version of ourselves. That's what we have that no other network marketing company has.
See, Madeline, and you didn't know I was doing this presentation. And look at, you spoke this out already. Before you can achieve the kind of life you want, you must think, act, talk, and conduct yourself in all your affairs as would the person you wish to
Put that
become.
out, Michael, except I would add to it that it was Masuda's personal affirmation.
It was Masuda's personal
On this-
affirmation.
on
So we
this
come from
part.
good stock. But I also wanted to
Mhm.
point out, Sophia, you didn't know that I was doing this, and you closed on something that was also something I wanted to share. I slept and I dreamed that life is all joy. I woke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I saw that service
I
is
like this
joy.
quote. Hold on, let me take a picture.
Khalil Gibran.
Back to those three young
True.
entrepreneurs, what I picked up is the serve and the love and the falling in love. So some of us have fallen in love more than once. So I did this on the Vance Rogers program on Saturday morning. Close your eyes and just think about that falling in love, whether it was a 14, first crush or whatever. Just think about how you felt, how you acted. Did you take a shower, put some first perfume on or aftershave? Did you put your best clothes on? The excited feeling, that's falling in love. So that's love with serve that you pay forward. That's not about what you want. That's the love that's the mutual love. So please pay attention particularly to the new young entrepreneurs and that love that just is going to vibrationally come out. And we can all fall in love again.
Madeline, let's wrap. So Saturday starts at what time?
12 to 4 Eastern Standard and 9 to 1 Pacific Standard Time.
9 to 4 or 12 to 4 Eastern, which is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. Okay, that's this Saturday, July 24. Be there, and obviously, if you're going to be there,
registering no fee. So you're registering and getting door prizes, and the door prizes are good door prizes. There's some at the beginning, and there's some more at the end with new
so
products.
how do we register?
Register online and also through
Where?
the WhatsApps online on myniken.com.
Okay, go to myniken.com and you can follow what links.
And there's and yes, you follow the link to register, and then
You'll see Master Day. You'll see the icon for Master Day. Click on that, follow that for the registration.
But we also have an invitation that we can send to guests, and they can register as well. Guests can register as well.
Has that been sent out, Madeline?
Yes, I think it's on one of the WhatsApps. It's been sent out because we talked about it. Barb, can you help? I missed today's 8.
Perhaps we can get it out again. So just keep this thing circulating on the WhatsApp chat. So if you wouldn't mind pushing it out on the core consultant chat, and I'll just mirror that elsewhere. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Madeline. Thank you, Sophia, for your contribution tonight, and everyone who here has joined. Thank you. Please, if you feel this message is an important one, share this video when I post it. And I will be posting last week's 2 videos, mine and Ben's calls as well. So look forward to that and sharing.
Soon, Michael, so they could be out and promoted before.
They are going to be done as quickly as I can get them uploaded. Thank you.
And we have Niken Now Wednesday night with Luis.
That's true. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Niken Now with our CEO and president, Luis Kasuga. So again, more information on that is on myniken.com. Log in, check out all that information. Thanks, everybody.